This video is going to go through some exam questions that have to do with those trends that we just finished. So here we have the skeletal structures of two extinct members of the hominin family tree. We've got Australopithecus again, Afarensis, and we've got the Homo neanderthalensis. So we know this one is more recent and this one is older. Okay, so examine the skeletal structures. For each of the features listed, describe the difference and state the significance. Now, I have an issue with their mark scheme, but I want you to give this a go. This is on page 17. So what is the description of the difference and why do we care about it? So what about the pelvic structure is different, and what about the arm to leg ratio is different? All right, so in 3, 2, 1, here we go. So you can see that the Africanus had a wider pelvic girdle, which I don't really like about that. It was actually, it's a really bad thing to see in this picture. It looks wider, but it shouldn't be. Yeah, Australopithecus should have a narrower pelvis. So I think I'm going to actually just change it and say that it was narrower, and then it's still fine. It's harder to walk upright as the center of gravity tips forward. The arm to length ratio was longer in Africanus versus Neanderthal. Now you must mention the names. So when you're mentioning the names, you can just write A Africanus. You don't have to write Australopithecus Africanus, because by writing A, we're just abbreviating the genus. Okay, and that's fine to abbreviate the genus. The fact that it had longer arms, the Africanus, means that it probably had a little bit more knuckle walking, so walking using its hands to support it. All right, here's a really interesting one. So we want to see, we've got 3 skulls here. Which one's the oldest? Which one's the most recent? So what are some of the features we look for on the skull? We look for flatness of face. Yeah, are they tipped out like this, or are they nice and flat? We can look for brow ridges. Are the brow ridges nice and defined, or are they reduced? We can also look at cranial capacity or brain case size. So right away, I can see this one is quite flat. It has not much brow ridges and it has a really big brain. So I think skull 2 is the most modern. So I'm going to go straight away and cross out B and C, because I know that skull 2 is the most modern. Then I'm just going to decide between skull 1 and skull 3. Again, I can see this one has a larger brain case than skull 1 has a larger brain case than skull 3. It also is a bit flatter compared to this one over here. That's a big giveaway. So to me, this one is the oldest. So therefore the answer should be A. All right. Shown below is a photograph of the skull of, again, this is the same question about the H. erectus georgicus. So we're on page 22. Scientists compared this skull to that of modern humans, so Homo sapiens sapiens. Remember how I said we have a subspecies now? We are Homo sapiens sapiens. So you need to describe any 2 features shown in the photograph. Okay, so straight away, I love to always mention the foramen magnum, but can I right now? And then you're going to say one structural feature other than skull that is going to indicate that. So I want you to pause, and then in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to give you the answers. 3, 2, 1. All right. So you could have any 2 of. Hopefully, forehead. The forehead is sloping more. So this is saying, we're saying that this is much earlier than Homo. So we're saying these are things that are features closer to Australopithecus. So we've got a more slopey face or less flat, same difference. Now we've got more brow ridges. We've got these things here, which I haven't talked about. Zygomatic arches are the bits that your cheekbones. Okay, so the cheekbones are more prominent also. We've got teeth in different sizes versus our teeth, which are quite uniform. U-shaped jaw or less parabolic jaw. It's all got to do here with a comparative statement. Okay, it must be a comparative statement. But the position of the foramen magnum was not allowed because you couldn't see it in the picture. Something else that you might expect, sorry, the question before asks about one structural feature that will indicate it is more modern. So we're looking for something that makes it more modern, more S-shaped, pelvis shape to be kind of more bowl-shaped would be better. Bowl-shaped pelvis. You could say larger heel bone. You could say shorter arm to leg ratio. All right, so here is, again, the same image, but it was used at a different year. So page 26. We already answered the first part of this question about primates. We're now going to answer part B. So from the skeletal structures above, choose one structural difference that has changed over time and explain the significance of the change. So from these structures, what can we see? Take a pause, try and answer the question, and then in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to give you the answer. 3, 2, 1. All right, this came from a sample exam, so we're going to go through them. So one structural difference, and we have to kind of highlight the significance of that change. So you could say that the Neanderthals had a larger skull, which allowed greater intelligence and communication. So here is my consequence, and here is my feature. The next one was maybe it was more upright, or it had a more bowl-shaped pelvis or a tilted pelvis. Therefore, it allowed them to stand, not more upright. So it just has a more tilted pelvis. So it allows them to stand more upright. They can see further. Yeah, if you can stand upright, you can see much further than other people near you. And it also allows them to travel much faster on 2 legs than Australopithecus. All right, last question for this little subsection. So we're on page 27, question 7. So in 2013, about 1,500 fossil bones of a hominin species were found in a cave in South Africa. From these bones, the scientists managed to construct almost complete skeleton. The fossil bones have some features in common with those of the genus Australopithecus. However, they have enough similarities to the genus Homo that we actually classified them as Homo naledi. So what are the 2 features of the fossil skeleton that would make them more Homo, less Australopithecus? Very similar to that previous question. I want you to pause and try and write down 2 features that you're going to find, and then I'm going to tell you the answer in 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right. So you could say that the skull, can't just say a flatter face, but the skull might show you flatter face, a more parabolic jaw, a larger brain case, more uniform shape, or less reduced canine size. You could say that the skeleton shows that the upper limbs have a shorter arm to leg ratio. So the upper limbs are shorter than the lower limbs. The features needed to be comparative. Now, this is the number one thing, yeah? Whenever you're talking about these questions, you have to have a comparison. More this, flatter, yes, larger, increase in shape, decrease in this, yeah? There has to be a comparative statement to get that answer. And that's it.